First, it was Tang to Tempe. Now, it's McDermott to the Mecca of college basketball.
Happy Thursday and welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils Show. I'm Anthony Totri, joined as always by the lister, known by the United States government and several others as Erik Ruby. And of course, we have the freckled Mamba behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Dennis in here, Raymond as well, ready to talk some Arizona State men's basketball, Ruby, but that's not just it. Yesterday, we had a jam-packed show where we were talking hoops, we were talking baseball, we were talking NFL Combine, and guess what? We're going to run it back today. Men's basketball, NFL Combine, baseball. Are you ready?
I don't know if I can top the teacher-student analogy thing that I did yesterday. But
I'm not here to shake you, though. I'm not here to shake the magic 8-ball to get a better metaphor.
Good, because the magic 8-ball's not ready. But the magic 8-ball is ready to talk a little coaching. Last time we did this, Totri, I don't know if you remember, but when we talked about Jerome Tang, people got angry.
Yeah,
like,
people were
really
upset.
Angry. So I'm interested to see what the response is to our conversation today, not just here in chat, which thank you all for being here, but on social media and in the comments afterwards, because I think this is a much more interesting conversation that we're going to have today, beyond the Jerome Tang conversation, which was, yeah, you probably just shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see kind of the response to this one. And I think, when let's get something out there. It's not a surprise. Arizona State will likely have a new men's basketball coach going into next season, right? I think, again, maybe the last 11 years, that's probably what has led into that. And again, I think we've talked often about the importance of getting this right? Especially when you look at across the athletic department, the shift from coach to coach and really what it has meant for each of these individual programs. And I don't think men's basketball is any different, right? I think you need to knock this one out of the park. But the big question is kind of what approach do you take? And you're right. When we talked about Jerome Tang, somebody who had been fired by Kansas State, that definitely was an option that, again, neither one of us wanted to happen. Neither one of us was sitting there like fist on the table, hire Jerome Tang, right? It was just food for thought here. And I think talking about the guy that we're going to talk about today, I think it is a little bit more of a realistic option. Am I saying that it's a foregone conclusion or that it's going to happen? No. But I think it's certainly worth discussing given the situation with Greg McDermott at Creighton. He's the guy that I think, again, when we're talking about the next era of men's basketball at Arizona State, you can kind of see it. You can kind of see what he's been able to accomplish while he's been at Creighton. And we'll get into all that. We'll get into the time that he's, been the men's basketball coach for the Blue Jays. But the reason that we're having this discussion today, and I want to, for those that are unfamiliar with the situation at Creighton long-term for the men's basketball program, because again, if you're just looking at this on paper, Greg McDermott's been the coach at Creighton since 2010, right? He's been there for 16-ish seasons. And a lot of really good seasons, a lot of seasons in the NCAA tournament, a lot of seasons entering the year in the AP Top 25, and a lot of seasons ending the year in the AP Top 25. So some folks may see Greg McDermott's name here and be like, why is this a point of conversation? Why would he come to Arizona State? Why would he leave Creighton? Well, Creighton currently is sitting at 14-15 on the year, right? One of the worst seasons that they've had as a program since Greg McDermott has actually been there, which may rub some Arizona State fans the wrong way. And they have a coach in waiting. Similar to when we talk college football and you had the Kyle Whittingham situation of like, hey, their DC is next up. And at a certain point, you kind of need to move on with the era. That way you don't lose that coach, right? Alan Huss, who is the associate head coach for Creighton, at one point was the head coach of, I want to say High Point, is the coach in waiting right now. And Greg McDermott has said in the past that he intended to retire after the 2026-2027 season, which would be next year, right? Now, does Creighton want to wait? Does Creighton want to wait a whole nother year, given what this year has been like for the Blue Jays, before moving on? Do they want to risk potentially Alan Huss going somewhere else? That's the question at hand. And then, of course, there is the idea of, hey, would Greg McDermott, if he was let go, would Tempe be an option for him?
I think there's a lot kind of to unpack there. And I think the number one thing that if we just explore this from a angle of he's gone at Creighton and he wants to come here, which are maybe two things to unpack a little bit more later, but let's just say that we're living in that world, which I don't think is La La Land. I think it's La Land. Like you're halfway there, right? Like we don't know if it's going to happen. Seems like not unrealistic, but not like the most realistic option. But again, you could very well see it happening, right? Let's just say that we live in that world right now. I think the number one thing that comes to Arizona State fans' minds is the age.
Yeah.
Right? Like that to me, and I think it's a valid concern, is the number one thing that most people would look at. Because when you and I have sat here and have talked about who's next after Bobby Hurley and get ready for cross-sport comparisons, I know everybody loves those. But then we look at the last couple of coaching hires that this athletic department has made, specifically in Kenny Dillingham and Molly Miller, they skew very much on the younger side, right?
Yeah.
And in Kenny's case, the youngest at the time in the sport. And you see how having those types of mindsets has helped Arizona State adapt and really thrive in the ever-changing landscape of college athletics, because you are not just a head coach anymore. It's different than it was 3 years ago, than it was 6 years ago, than it was 16 years ago when McDermott started coaching back at Creighton in 2010. It's not even the same job anymore, right? And so if McDermott seems like he has one foot out the door, he doesn't want to deal with these things anymore, is that a no-go for a program that needs kind of a shot of energy? That is certainly a concern. On the other side of things, let's say that he doesn't want to hang him up because he doesn't like the new era of college basketball. Let's just say that he's getting a little older and he's like, you know what, maybe I have a couple of years left, right? Just a couple of years. People like moving to Arizona right before they retire so that they can, get their feet settled here before it's time to retire. But he still loves what he's doing. Then I think that becomes a very interesting conversation as a like, hey, could you just help us get on track?
Well, yeah, I think that's part of the conversation too, is how you look at it. And I don't think the athletic department is going to go into it of like, hey, we need a bridge coach, right? I don't think that's the approach that they're going to take. I think they're going to want to find somebody long term, which again kind of makes this a trickier situation, because I do think on paper, Greg McDermott would be the type of coach that you want to bring in that's had all that historical success that this program is kind of looked for, right? And I think if we're talking about what would be best for Arizona State men's basketball, probably getting a somewhat proven commodity in the door and getting the program at least off the ground would be ideal, right? Especially when you look at what Creighton has been as a program over the last several seasons. And I think the attractive spot about Arizona State that hasn't necessarily been voiced by either one of us is that when you do have a coach like this, or you have maybe even a younger coach kind of rising through the ranks, deciding what university they want to go to next, well, how often do we talk about the Big 12 as a juggernaut, as the second best basketball conference or the second best basketball league in the States outside of the NBA? right? So that's an attractive spot. Any school here, regardless of the program in and of itself, the fact that you get to coach in this league means something. And I think that is certainly for a coach with Greg McDermott's, long-term career and what he's been able to accomplish with Creighton in the Big East. Like, the idea of like, yeah, I've got a couple more years left, and I want to give it all I got, right? I don't think Greg McDermott's the type that's like, you know what, I'm gonna pack it in early, go get a cushy job in Arizona, and be done with it. I think if this is still something that he wants to do, right, and he wants to do it at a high level, why not? Why not come to Arizona State? Why not try and rebuild this program, get it to a place that it's never been before?
Sure. I mean, it has to be a challenge that he really wants, because let's be honest here, like, it is a challenge. Part of the reason why you ideally would take a shot on a younger coach is because those are the coaches who are ready to take on these like big challenges, these big changes, right? To prove themselves almost. Does Greg McDermott still feel like he needs to prove himself, right? Because there's also the other side of what you just said of like, hey, I've been in the Big East. I've been one of the most successful coaches in the Big East for over a decade and a half now. I've made my mark. I've put players in the NBA, including my own son. Like, I've made it to the tournament. I've never won it all, but like for a program like Creighton, I've probably done about as good as anybody could have imagined
Yeah.
a program like Creighton doing, right? And so if you sit there and it's like, okay, should I go to a program in Arizona State, which you and I have sat here and talked about all of the limitations that this basketball program has, and why it's not just the head coach's fault as to why that there's not the level of success that there needs to be. Would I want to, in my last few years, take the risk of potentially like tarnishing my reputation a little bit, taking not only a difficult job, but like Totri, the margin for error in the Big 12 is a lot smaller than it is in the Big East. If
Yeah.
if McDermott takes over here, and let's just say it doesn't go the way that he plans, you're going to get your ass kicked every single night.
As opposed to what's happening now?
No. I'm not saying this from an ASU perspective. I'm looking at it from a him perspective, right?
Yeah.
From a him perspective, do you want to go and take a job that the margin for error is so slim that if let's just say you've lost your fastball a little bit, or you've lost your love for it a little bit, you're not going to be able to, I don't want to say he's been coasting, because he hasn't been coasting, but like, if this Creighton team that's about 500 was in the Big 12 right now, they'd probably be the worst team in the Big 12, realistically, because you're playing.
I don't know if they'd be the worst team in the Big 12.
Second worst behind Utah, maybe. Like, you're playing Big 12 teams instead of Big East teams. And so again, I'm not saying that as like there's no chance it would happen or that he wouldn't do it. I'm just saying that has to go in the calculation of like, you have to be ready to take on that challenge, and you can't be afraid of failing, right?
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
But it's just like, is he at a point in his career where he wants to take a risk where it's like, I have to not be afraid to fail, because it's like, I've kind of done everything that I want to do. And you're not going to Arizona State to win the tournament, right? It's like the only thing that he hasn't really done. And so you're not checking off that box here.
Yeah, but again, that's if Kenny Dillingham, if we would have talked about college football playoff, right, or Molly Miller coming to Arizona State and resetting record books in year one, right, when we were talking about those hires, we would have laughed, right? We would have said, there's no way Kenny Dillingham gets Arizona State to the college football playoff in 3 years, right? Literally, you would have chuckled, and like I would have had to give you tissues to wipe the tears off your face, right? Something they accomplished. We talk often in college football about how like anything's possible, right? In today's day and age. I believe the same thing with men's basketball. I think you get the right guy in the building, the right set of players, the right time, the right motivation. Yeah, I think anything's possible. Am I saying that you get a new coach in here like Greg McDermott and you go win a national championship in men's basketball in 2 years? No, that would be like just ridiculous to say. But I'm not going to sit up here and say that like it would be completely just unfathomable, impossible, right? It's something that's never happened before for Arizona State. It would be a ridiculous feat. I think it would be a more impressive feat than Arizona State going to the college football playoff as quick as they did, right? Especially given off, this program and what it's accomplished. But I think, again, it's so easy for us to sit up here and say, hey, like, is this Would he want to do it? Would it tarnish his thing? We know coaches, right? We've talked to coaches. We've been around athletic teams. We've been around programs. They don't give a damn. They don't think about it like that. They don't think of like, man, if I go to Arizona State, is that going to tarnish my legacy? Like, he doesn't give a shit.
Sure.
For the 16 years that he's been at Creighton, do you know how many seasons they haven't won 20 games?
Would this be the
Two.
first?
It's going to be this year,
yeah,
and it's going to be in 2015. Those are the only 2 seasons that he's had in 16 where they haven't had 20-plus wins, right? His legacy's already established. He's fine. If anything, this is like, hey, I've been kicking the Big East ass for 16 years. I'm going to go try it in the Big 12 with Houston, Iowa State, Kansas, Arizona, all these other teams. I think he's certainly, especially, you have to think, and again, I know people don't like the cross-sports comparisons, but you're just going to have to get used to it here. Like, with the Kyle Whittingham situation, we agree Kyle Whittingham is a phenomenal coach. Michigan lucked into that. The fact that he was the guy there at the end of it, right? When the music stopped, you got Kyle Whittingham. Like, round of applause. So I think that worked out, and it's ultimately going to work out for both those programs, right? Utah wanted to get their guy, their DC, make him the head coach. Let's start the new era. Michigan needed somebody to wipe away all the crap that was on the walls of their program, right? Somebody that still looks hungry, somebody that's established, somebody that's been to the top of the mountain before. I think they both won. Now, you look at this situation, you look at Creighton, you look at Arizona State. Creighton's got their guy next up. Is it time to get into the era? Is it time to have, Alan Huss take over? And then what? Then you've still got a guy in McDermott who's like, you know what? Like, I'm not done yet. I'm not done. Screw it. Like, you appreciated the time, whatever, but you're not ready to call it quits, right? I think this is a very similar situation, and I think if the music stopped 3 months from now and Arizona State was sitting with Greg McDermott as the head coach, would there be questions? Yes, right? The immediate question is, okay, long term. But let's just, again, we're not in La La Land. We're just in La Land, which is cool. I'm happy to be here, let's say this goes 4 years. Let's say Greg McDermott's the head coach at Arizona State for four years. Feels short, right? Short tenure. Let's say they go to the tournament 3 of those 4 years. They make the round of 32, 3 of the 4 in 1 year. I don't know. They get bounced in the first round or something, right? We would sit here at the end of the 4 years and say, like, that's better than what you just had.
Oh, dude, 100%. My argument was more from McDermott's perspective, like from ASU's perspective. Not to bury the lead here, I'd do this. I'd 100% do this. It's not your coach of the future. And if you don't have somebody that you're in love with right now that wants to come here, make this program a better, more attractive spot for everybody else. I think hiring McDermott does that. That to me is like, you're 100% right. In no means was I arguing against Arizona State hiring McDermott. I do think that there are some concerns, but I think those concerns are very minimal considering to where your program is right now. And if you're not able to go in there and get, like, people are like, oh, go take the assistant, right? Somebody in here said, go take Alan Huss from Creighton. There's no way. There's no way somebody who's set up like that's going to come here. Like, this program, like, again, you're in the Big 12. You have bad facilities. You do not have the type of money these other programs have, even though Bobby Hurley said he feels competitive. Like, there's no respect for this program right now. Like, you aren't getting a top tier in waiting coach. That's just not how this is going to happen. You don't have the pedigree. You don't have the money. You don't have the facilities, and you don't have the margin for error here, right? So you can put that to the side. Like, that's not an option, right? And if it is, I will be thrilled to be wrong. But I think you're going to have to go into 2 different categories here. Category number 1 is younger coach on a lower level, hungry, ready to prove themselves, ready to take on a Big 12 challenge because that's a huge career step up. And I think option number 2 is exactly what McDermott falls into, which is an established coach who is maybe running out of time at their current place, probably only has a couple of years left before they decide they don't want to coach anymore, but they want one last hoorah, one last opportunity to make something their own. That's what Arizona State can be to a guy like McDermott. If he wants to be here and you don't have some young coach that you feel super confident in, 10 times out of 10, you go with McDermott. No questions asked.
Yeah. Well, look, you said you had some concerns. I want to get your final thoughts on Greg McDermott, potentially what's next at Arizona State. So we're going to continue this conversation on the other side of our first break. Look, we've got partners here at PHNX that try and help you save money every single day. And we've also got partners here that give you a chance to win money every single day. But I want to tell you about where you could put those savings and you could put those winnings. And that's, of course, Mountain America Credit Union. More specifically, their My Style checking account. Because everybody needs a checking account. But of course, you want one that's got those built-in perks and benefits, and that's exactly what you're going to get with that My Style checking account. You guys can enjoy restaurant deals, mobile phone protection, telehealth access, identity protection, loan rate discounts, offers on travel and events, and of course, Erik, there is more. Make My Style your lifestyle at Mountain America Credit Union. And for all of you Sun Devils in the chat wanting your personal credit union to support the Arizona State Sun Devils, well, none other than home to Kenny Dillingham's Arizona State football team is, of course, Mountain America Stadium. Make sure you visit macu.com/mystyle to apply. Insured by NCUA. Membership required. Based on eligibility, some benefits require no cost. Registration/activation terms, conditions, and exclusions apply.
A lot of good things in life can be very overwhelming. Like maybe you want to renovate your home. Maybe you're a contractor and you're tackling a big multi-family build for the first time. You need to make sure that you go to a place that has everything that you need at the cheapest price. That's where the Window Depot comes into play. Not just windows, because they have been serving Arizona since 2002, and they started with just windows, but now they have doors, skylights, cabinets, countertops, sinks, and more, all in stock and ready for pickup. It's the best price because they have the biggest inventory. They stock more, so you spend less. It's simple. No wait times, no gimmicks, just everyday low pricing and ready to go inventory. With 7 locations across Arizona and windows proudly manufactured here locally, the Window Depot is the place to go if you need a custom order or to get a custom design. They just have you covered. So go to thewindowdepot.com, get started on your next project today, or stop by one of the Window Depot's 7 Arizona locations and see for yourself why they're way more than just a window store. And PHNX Sun Devils is way more than just a basketball podcast, which we're starting out today. Of course, we're talking football later in the show, and that's because it's the Combine, and you know us here at PHNX. We love all of you, and because it is the Combine, we are doing a sale on our Die Hard membership. Sale? $36 for 1 year. That was terrible. A Die Hard membership, you get a free t-shirt, discount to all of our paid events, which we have a lot of free events, but we have a paid one like an ASU hockey takeover. You get 20% off of that. Plus, you get access to exclusive content, like when it was the portal going on. Totri had an entire portal tracker that was Die Hard only. And of course, you get access to our Die Hard Discord, which I will say, as somebody who participates in all the little Die Hard channels and everything, the ASU Die Hard Discord, I think, has the die-hardiest diehards in there, talking everything. Baseball, gymnastics, like triathlon, like literally
football,
everything.
Hockey, men's basketball, women's basketball, goes on and on and on, man.
If you have takes about Arizona State, there's only one place to get them off, and that is our Die Hard Discord. You can get in for $36 for the year. It's a pretty big discount. Scan that QR code on our screen or go to gophnx.com/intro.
Hit that like button.
Yeah.
Hit the subscribe button. Drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. If you're just joining us, we're talking about the potential of Greg McDermott leaving Creighton or being pushed out at Creighton and potentially signing up to become the next men's basketball coach at Arizona State. And I think Rubus and I agree here that if you're Arizona State and this is, the situation at hand, I think you ultimately are good here. Rubus, before the break, though, you said you had some concerns. Sure. I want to let you air some of those out and see if maybe you can step into my therapy office, just kick your feet up on the couch and let me ease some of those concerns.
Number one, I'm not a fan of Doug McDermott, his son, who plays in the NBA.
That's number one. That's like, we don't want him to coach Arizona State. Is it because like his name's Doug, or is it because it's just Doug McDermott?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Nothing
Erik,
wrong
not
with
a fan
Doug.
of men named Doug.
Hey, no. I'm
Probably,
big fan of
never
Doug
mind, yeah.
Tamaro. Big fan
Yeah.
of nobody clip
Yeah.
that.
I was
Nobody
going to
clip
say,
that and send
man,
it to him.
don't give me this opportunity.
Don't clip that and send it to him. Okay. So look, there are a couple of things where I kind of started it off by talking about the age.
Mm-hmm. You're ageist.
Yes. There is a there is a chance. And I know that, like you mentioned, like coaches don't look at it as like, oh, tarnish my legacy, blah, blah, blah. But there are a lot of stories in sports where an older coach probably should retire, decides to go somewhere else to give it one last hoorah, and it doesn't work out that great.
Yeah.
Now, these are different comparisons, but these are just names that are coming to mind. This is not apples to apples, folks, but Bill Belichick.
Oh
Okay.
God.
No,
This is as far
I
from
know. I know.
apples that
I
you
know.
could get.
I'm just saying, like, these are two examples, and these are two completely different examples. Like Pete Carroll, right? Like, these are examples of coaches that have been very successful, obviously to a much bigger level than McDermott, who were kind of ousted of their own place for the guy in waiting for the next guy to come there. And then they decide we're going to go somewhere else and we're going to, fix this. Somebody in the chat says it's a Herm Edwards type of hire.
Stop it.
I don't think that's true because you're hiring somebody who's been a very successful coach. Herm was an experiment instead of an actual coach. That's different.
It wasn't an experiment. He was a poison.
Yeah,
A curse.
experiments
It was
can be
like
bad.
Ray Anderson pulled out a Ouija board from Michael Crow's desk and spawned Herman Edwards.
And so I'll tell you this, man. If I had the choice between a successful, younger, up-and-coming head coach who's maybe less proven than McDermott or him, I'm taking Josh Schertz out of St. Louis if he wants to come here, right? Like Travis Steele, if he wants to come here. Like I'm taking those guys instead. But my thought is I don't think Arizona State is going to be a destination for them.
Do you think so? First off here, I think, are you more leaning in it? I guess this is a tough question because I'm asking you to try and like almost erase what's currently present at the time. Are you thinking more young, up and coming hot shot because of the last two major hires at Arizona State? Do you think that that's maybe why your mind is going that way as opposed to proven guy that's done it at a high level for a significant period of time?
Partially, I think part of it is taking the temperature of the fan base and kind of looking at where college athletics is now.
Yeah.
Like, think about all the great coaches from 2010 and the 2010s in general. How many of them are still coaching right now in college basketball? Like, you're seeing some
you're
of these.
asking me to pull
Well,
a
I
rabbit
know,
out of
but
my
you're like
hat.
you're seeing some of these legends, and like you see Bill Self over in Kansas, right?
Yeah.
And Bill Self is somebody who's been very good for a very long time, and even he's dealing with some of like the NIL problems, and
He's
obviously
63, by the way. Bill Self is 2 years older than Greg McDermott.
Sure. I'm not comparing those two directly. I'm just saying.
No,
like,
I know you're just ageist, so I want to get out all the numbers.
Yes, you put it in the papers, put it on a quote graphic. I don't care. When it comes to coaches, I think that it's maybe less about the age specifically, and more just about like the fact that McDermott had basically stated that he plans to retire after next year. I don't know if I'd want him here for 1 year because then it's just kind of like, what are we doing? If you have success and then you leave, that doesn't prove that Arizona State can be anything, right? Like that just is kind of like, okay, you came here, you coached, and like if it's not working out, then you're ready to retire at the end of the year, and it is what it is. So if it was, hey, I'm 61 years old and I have another 10 years in, like think about what Bobby Hurley said, right? And I know that it's kind of ironic, but Bobby Hurley tells Doug Haller, like, I could do this for a lot longer. Like, I am not anywhere near wanting to be done with this. Like, say what you want about Bobby. Like, he's got the hunger to continue to do this. Like, he wants to be a head coach. He wants to do this for a long time. He wants to build a program. He wants to be around. It's not the right fit right now here, but you need somebody, I think, with that mindset. Maybe not for 10 years, maybe not to be like the future of Arizona State basketball forever, but does McDermott have 4 years in him? Like, you gave us the 4-year scenario with 3 times in the tournament. Like that, yeah, you take that 100 times out of 100. Are you getting 4 engaged years from McDermott? I don't know. I'd hope
I don't
so.
think they make the hire if they're not, right? If they're not
Yeah,
going to
but you
get
can,
at least a handful of seasons.
but he's not gonna say that he's not gonna be engaged, right? Like they're gonna give if he
He's
gets
not going to
signed here.
sign a 3-4 year
No,
contract and then bounce after a year.
no, but it's not about him bouncing. It's more just about like, are you fully engaged? These are just things that I'm not saying that I'm putting this on him as in like this is what he would do. I'm just saying that we've seen this story a couple of times where you give a 4 to 5 year contract to somebody to stick around and to save whatever, and they've already kind of had their foot out the door for the last few years. They get 2 years into this, it's not working out. And I don't know if it's as much as mailing it in, but it's just more like, throwing your hands up and just kind of going with the flow and not being like, well, I got to fix this because I'm 63, 64 years old now. I'm about to retire. Like it is what it is. It to me, it's not a concern to the level of like, I wouldn't hire him. I'm just saying if you are looking for flaws in this, the
Mhm.
flaw is there is a chance that if you hire somebody who was already expected to retire after next season, is that it does do they have the mindset to flip a program in the way that Arizona State needs to be flipped? That's the question.
But again, like I think there's the conversation of like a bridge coach is not the worst thing possible, especially
Sure.
considering the fact that the DFA renovations are still going to be a couple years away. Like if we're talking about you get McDermott in the door, you raise the floor of your program for let's say even 3 years. Raise the floor of your program from let's say consistently 14, 13, 12 in the Big 12 to 7, 8, 9. Raise the floor, right? And again, that's exactly what Greg McDermott would do here at a minimum is raise the floor. You look at what he's done at Creighton, Sweet 16 3 times, Elite 8 once in the last 5 years, right? Again, heights that Arizona State hasn't achieved sometimes ever, right? We're
For sure.
talking decades upon decades for this program. It would raise the floor. Your renovations would be done. That when people think of Arizona State men's basketball at that point in time, it would be different. You'd have a new arena. The football facility would be done. We know that Arizona State's going to get a bunch of national attention in that. Like women's basketball, baseball, all these other programs could continue to really spike the Arizona State brand. Then let's say at that point in time, you go try and get your young gun to run the program for the next several years. Like, I think that is a reasonable option. I think Greg McDermott would probably cost you less than, let's say, a Travis Steele at a Miami of Ohio. Like, if we're talking about, again, the program, resources, setting yourself up for a long-term success, and again, I don't know, I'm not in the mind of Graham Rossini here, of like how he's going to approach this hire. Again, if, and most likely when, this comes to fruition. But like, I don't think that is the worst scenario possible
No,
here. And I get it.
no,
I get
I
there are
think it's a
people
good
that are going to
scenario.
want this to be like a quick fix of like what you had with women's basketball, what you had with football. I don't see that necessarily being the case with men's basketball. I just think it's a much harder sport to turn and compete immediately than some of these other ones. So like, again, music stops. Greg McDermott's wearing a pitchfork. I'm cool with that. I'm
Oh
hyped
no,
about it.
I'm
In all
I'm cool
honesty,
with it.
I'm cool with it.
Like and that's the thing is where I don't want to come off in a different way where I'm cool with that too. Are there other coaches that if they wanted to come here, I would take instead of him? Yes. Do I think those coaches want to come here and Arizona State can get them? My gut tells me no, right? Everything you said, I agree with. And it's why I would do this, right? I'm just saying the situation that you pointed out, which I agree is certainly possible and maybe more likely, is not the only outcome. There is certainly a reality where you hire Greg McDermott and it does not go that way. There is a chance that you hire him and you're just getting what Creighton got this year, but on the West Coast, right? And the counter to that is he's had a lot of success recently. Like this is not like a guy who's had 5 years at Creighton of just being mid and has only succeeded pre-COVID. That's not what's going on here. But this is the first time that you've really seen this program, like you mentioned, not get to 20 wins in a decade, right?
Yeah.
There is a chance that all of the things that you said you would talk yourself into, which I would also talk myself into and believe would more likely happen, still does not play out that way. Like, there is a chance that you take this risk, which it is a risk, and you go, hey, we are going to bank on this guy giving us some level of stability, some level of success to help be a launching pad for our program. And instead, you sink the next 4 to 5 years, either actually or financially, into somebody who just doesn't have it anymore, right? There is certainly a chance with that. That is the risk with somebody of his age and with the mindset of he was already going to probably retire after next season. But that being said, Totri, this is a program that needs to take a risk either way. And if your risk is going to be bringing in somebody who has had the level of success that Greg McDermott has had, that is a risk that as a fan, I would like them to make, as long as it's not instead of one of these young up and coming coaches that has also seen success recently. That's the caveat.
So let's put a button on this conversation, right? Because we'll do a full show or a full separate podcast on the other guys, right? The overall, like our top 5 list. But let's say we got a top 5. Is Greg McDermott on the list of the top 5? And this is assuming everybody that you would call wants the job. Is Greg McDermott on your top 5? If so, where in the top 5 is he?
If everybody wants it, yes, but like 5 or 4.
Okay. Good to know. I would say Greg McDermott is probably 3 on the list for me. It's relatively high. Again, I think there are certainly some options out there that would, in terms of long-term success, you would probably call them first. But again, this is a conversation. We'll see how it transpires over the next several weeks because, of course, there are still plenty of names for Arizona State men's basketball to really explore here. So let us know in the chat, where would Greg McDermott rank for you guys? Do you want to see him as the next Arizona State men's basketball coach? And we're going to transition into football and baseball on the other side of our second break.
Look, sometimes you need to relax. Sometimes you want to celebrate. Sometimes you just want to feel good. That's where Pure Edibles is always here for you, because guess what? All 3 founders, ASU alumni, they're founded here locally in Arizona, and leave it to the ASU alumni to be innovative. No more just hybrid, sativa, indica labels on your weed tasting like gummies that you get from a dispensary. No, Pure Edibles, they solve all of that. Not only do their gummies taste good, like real candy, but on every single tin, it is clearly listed the exact effects in which that pure edible is going to deliver: relaxed, sleepy, uplifted, balanced, and more. They use unique cannabinoids such as CBN, CBG, and CBD, of course, with marijuana-derived THC to deliver the exact effect that you want. And if you're new to edibles, Pure Edibles is perfect for you because they're designed to be ripped or bit in half, making them not only easily shareable, but easy to dial in your exact dose. So start low and then go slow and have some fun with Pure Edibles. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from over the 130 dispensaries across Arizona.
Hey, you driving, is that gas light flashing at you? Well, if so, look to your right, look to your left. Odds are you're going to see a circle location on both sides of you. So go fill up and start saving money the next time you pull up to a Circle K location. All you got to do is sign up for Inner Circle. It's Circle K's free membership program that we tell you about on the daily. Go to the App Store, download the app, enter your email and phone number, and that's it. That's all it takes to start raking in the savings. And the next time you pull up to a Circle K location to fill up on gas as a member of Inner Circle, you guys are going to save 25 cents off per gallon on gas. And if that's not enough, you guys can save every single day after that on gas, on drinks, on snacks. And of course, they have Inner Circle fuel days where you guys can sometimes save up to 40 cents off per gallon on gas. Make sure you join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Make sure you visit circlek.com for more details. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Again, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Appreciate everybody watching live, watching after the fact, and then, of course, listening on audio as well. Rubus, we're going back to Indy for the NFL Combine. Yesterday, we heard from Arizona State linebacker Keyshawn Elliott. Today, it was Arizona State corner Keith Abney at the podium talking about his time at Arizona State, what he's going to bring to an NFL team. So we've got some sound that we're going to play for you guys here in just a little bit. But I want to spend some time, Erik, talking with you about Keith Abney, because he's somebody that we watched their entire career at Arizona State, right? We had him on. I had him on when this kid was literally a kid, when he committed to Arizona State on signing day. We had that conversation with him, and to see where he's at now, being one of 4 to represent the Sun Devils in Indy at the 2026 NFL Combine, it's amazing to see somebody that has improved every single season at Arizona State, on the cusp of being a first-round pick. I think this is somebody who has solidified himself as a second-round pick at worst. What do we think? What do we think of Keith Abney's chances heading into the league?
I think the combine is going to help him a lot because the conversation that's dominating around Keith Abney right now is like, yeah, he's a really good player, but he's small, right? So go out there and kill all of your measurables, all of your athletic, like everything. Get a great RAS score. Like go out there and be dominant in these drills, because I know we talk about, oh, it's not the end of the world, it's not this, it's not that, but like for a guy like Keith Abney, it could help at least solidify his draft stock, if not boost it, right? Plus, you get to talk to these coaches and GMs, and they get to see like the intelligence level in a Keith Abney as well. And these are the things that can kind of help calm down the fears of what has been put out there of, oh, where does he play? You know, he's not really big enough to play the position that he played in college at the NFL. Can he translate over? Does he have the athleticism to do that? Like, what is he able to do at the next level when everybody's bigger, stronger, faster? And so show that you can match up with that. It's not that it's a concern to the point that he's like a third, fourth, fifth round pick, but I do think there's a chance that teams look at his size and go, maybe we'll take somebody else. I think it'll be a mistake. But I think as far as just where draft like order lands, this is actually a really big week for Keith Abney.
Yeah. I think when we're talking about the 4 guys, right, for Arizona State that are in Indy for the combine, we of course have talked at length about JT not doing anything, right, on field drills, workouts, etc. So between Keith, Elliott, and Ahanachor, I think Ahanachor is probably also solidified in that second round at worst, based off of everything that we've heard, we've seen really. Keith is an interesting one, right? Because I think out of all the players left, but I guess ultimately it's him and Keyshawn that we're having this discussion with, in terms of like how high you can jump in like just overall draft stock, I think Keith can make a giant jump here. Like you said, if he's able to dominate some of these drills, if he's able to show you that size ultimately, isn't a factor here, when it comes to just his overall ability. If he kills and crushes these interviews, which I think he has already some, and some that I think he will crush, I think this is going to be somebody that continues to rise in the ranks. Certainly somebody that I don't see getting past that second round. And again, I think as it relates to like Keyshawn Elliott, I think when he talked yesterday, it was more so of like he feels, based off the conversations that he's had, his range is kind of clear, right? Like third round and beyond is where you're going to hear his name. Keith is fringe first round guy, right? If somebody falls in love with Keith Abney, I think they're going to take him, right? I think there are a lot of teams on the back half of that first round that could definitely sink their teeth into the idea of, hey, like, look what this guy was able to accomplish. He's grown every single year as a player. He's smart, high football IQ. He's an athletic freak. Yeah, he's a little shorter. Let's take him anyways, right? Somebody that you could plug in at a nickel if you want to throw him there. If a team does like him on the perimeter, you know he's capable of doing that, right? You saw him do it at ASU. So I think, again, a good week here in Indy could prove to be pivotal for him. And I think there are going to be a lot of conversations that people have with Keith Abney, not just about Keith Abney, but about Jordan Tyson, right? Mm-hmm. About him as a wide receiver, and about, how often did we go to practice and these two were, it's 0 versus 1, man. It's Keith Abney and Jordan Tyson locked up the entire practice, one-on-one against each other. The whole narrative and, cliche of iron sharpens iron, I think is legit here. And I think it's the proof is in the pudding. And he was asked today about Jordan Tyson. He was also asked about their daily battles, and gave a really good answer.
You're going to get a dog. You're going to get a culture changer. I feel like that's somebody that could go in and change the culture of a team. He going to work every day. Like, he got all the, got the hype and stuff, but he don't even worry about none of that stuff. He a humble player, humble guy, and he the best receiver in this draft, in my opinion. Me and Jordan been locked in since we kind of got to Arizona State around the same time. We're going to the field early in the morning, getting work in, doing releases all the way down the field, 100 yards at 7 in the morning, right before workouts, like stuff like that. Just it's good just being with him. It's somebody that pushes me to be better. I push him to be better, and an elite player like that and an elite player like me, we just get each other better every day. It's great. It's awesome.
I mean, I'll tell you one thing, man. Kenny Dillingham, this staff, Doug Tamaro, all these guys around ASU, I don't think there's a better group of Sun Devils that you could have at the podium this week talking about their time in Tempe. Man, Keith Abney, the way he talks about JT, the way he talks about, their daily battles in practice, something that we saw firsthand often. Like, you got a couple of guys that are repping Arizona State the right way.
Yeah, and the difference with Keith, and this is by no means putting down Keyshawn or Tyson, but like he committed here out of high school.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is a guy who had been there his entire college career. Like, again, there's nothing against transferring in. Like, Jordan Tyson and Keyshawn Elliott are just as much Sun Devils as Keith Abney. But when you have somebody like you mentioned, like you had on the show when he committed, I remember when I started on this show, it was like the first thing I learned from you was like, Keith Abney's our guy, and don't you forget it. Like, seriously, like it was like, oh man, like the first spring ball that I was around for, my first couple of months on the show here, it was like, who stands out in practice? Every single time we would talk about it, it'd be like, Keith Abney, man. Keith Abney's my guy. Keith Abney's the guy, right? And then to watch him develop into somebody who didn't just become integral to this team, but became literally one of the best in his position in the country. And in my opinion, the best in his position in the Big 12.
Yeah.
It's such a cool story. And when we talk about recruiting and we talk about keeping guys at Arizona State, Keith Abney and CJ Fight's story, if they continue to have success in, with Keith in his case, get drafted high this year, go to the NFL, CJ come back to college, play really well, and then do what Keith Abney's doing right now, be a higher end draft pick and have success in the NFL, hopefully. Those are two guys that are going to be some of the first names out of all of these coaches' mouths when they're talking to guys about what do you want your future to be? Oh, you want to go to the NFL? Look at these two. Look at those guys.
Yeah.
Right? Like Keith is a very, very important Sun Devil to the current part of the program, but for the future as well. Just as important as a guy like Jordan Tyson, who's probably going in the first 15 picks in the draft.
Yeah, 1000%. And I think, again, that's something too that you see, and you see it. I want to say more so, and this may be a stretch here, so I apologize if it is, but like, I think there are times where you can, when NFL GMs and scouts, they read into things too much, right? They read into, size, they read into production sometimes. When at the end of the day, like, if you're a good football player on tape, you're probably going to be a good football player at the next level, right? Are you going to be great? Maybe, maybe not, right? There are things that go into it. I think of an example that relates with probably Cardinal fans here is Denzel Burke, right? Somebody that going into his final year at Ohio State opted to return instead of going pro, right? Somebody that was projected second round, maybe third round. At one point in his career, was projected first round pick, right? CB1 at Ohio State, right? Had somewhat of a down year and falls all the way to the fifth round, right? And the Arizona Cardinals luck out. Saw what he was capable of this year, probably a top 5 corner as a rookie this year. Cardinals got him, fifth round. But in the grand scheme of things, if you're a head coach, if you're a GM, who is Denzel Burke been going up against in practice every day? Marvin Harrison Jr., Chris Olave, JSN, some of the best wide receivers in the league, right? Year over year at Ohio State, right? So when push comes to shove, who's been guarding them all every day in practice? Who's been working with him in workout in the gym? Who's been sitting next to him in meeting rooms, right? Like, these guys go back and forth every single day. The iron sharpens iron is real. So I don't want, and again, this is a plea that's not going to, it's probably going to fall on deaf ears. But if you're a GM, if you're a scout, if you're a coach, don't overthink it. Keith Abney has been locking up Arizona State's number 1 wide receiver for the last 3 years, right? Don't Don't get me wrong. JT's got his. He's got plenty of his. Keith has won his reps too, right? They've been going at each other every single day in practice. When JT wasn't healthy, Keith was just going up against the next one, right? The next number one, taking on everybody's number one in this conference. And he has been doing a phenomenal job, right? Look at the two guys at Iowa State a couple years ago that both landed with the Houston Texans. Keith locked both them up, right? T-Mac, the one time that those two met, right? Maybe twice. Like, T-Mac got his. Keith won his reps too, right? And you saw, reigning offensive rookie of the year. So, like, again, don't let somebody that just, let's say he's listed at 5'10", 5'11". Let's say that's what he measures up at. Like, it is what it is. Dude's good at football. Sometimes it is that damn simple, okay? It really is. Let us know in the chat what you guys think of Keith Abney and potentially where he could land in April when his name is called, because you best believe his name will be called during that 2026 NFL draft. We are going to talk a little ASU baseball on the other side of our final break. Hey, Erik.
Yeah.
Do the roar. Yeah, that's right. That is just a glimpse into what you guys can hear over at Phoenix Raceway this spring, because for the first time ever, NASCAR and NTT IndyCar series are racing during the same weekend at where else? Phoenix Raceway. And you guys get a front row seat to it all. We're talking about history, and nothing delivers the intensity of race weekend like the engines firing, the smell of rubber, the crowd erupting as the field charges into turn one, and then of course that amazing roar that Rubus just threw out there. Look, you guys can watch the 2025 Cup Series champion Kyle Larson return to the track where he won it all just a couple months prior. NASCAR and NTT IndyCar Series weekend at Phoenix Raceway, March 5th through the 8th. So just a couple more weeks to snag your tickets. Make sure you secure your seats now at the link in our description.
I'm always wearing a Brandon Bills hat on this program, and usually it's an ASU Brandon Bills hat because Brandon Bills has a partnership with Arizona State University. All the football players wear Brandon Bills hats. All the fans wear Brandon Bills hats. It's awesome. But if you notice today, it's just a little bit different because I'm wearing a PHNX branded Bills hat, because Brandon Bills has you covered with custom headwear when it comes to your own company. In fact, PHNX, we have multiple Brandon Bills hats on our locker right now, and you can have your own Brandon Bills hat for maybe you have a small business that's turned into a big business. Maybe you have a small business that isn't a big business yet, but you want to treat it like it is. Maybe you have a fantasy football league that's been going for 20 years with its own logo that you want everybody to rock. Brandon Bills has you covered, whether it's snapbacks, truckers, fitted beanies, or tees. They have you covered with performance and style. Plus, of course, they're local. They partner with ASU, they partner with the Suns, and they were founded right here in Mesa, Arizona. So make sure you head to brandedbills.com. Use code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order. That's brandedbills.com. Use code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order.
Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Rubus, you're getting some love. Raymond in the chat. Yeah, Erik kind of cooked with that roar.
Dude, it was pretty good. Like,
pretty good roar.
If you want to talk about development, go back to last year's Phoenix Raceway reads and hear my car sounds, and then go to this year's, and it's completely
the improvement.
Different.
The improvement's uncanny.
I've worked on my craft. It's amazing what happens when you can do that.
Development at Arizona State, right? That's what we do here.
That's what we do.
1,000%. Look, I wanted to finish with the bad news.
You jinxed it.
You jinxed it.
Me?
You jinxed it. This is on you, man. 1,000% on you. It's on you. No, it's on you, man. It's on you. It's on you.
Dude, nah.
Yeah, no, it's on you. And I'm going to tell everybody why it's on you, but
okay.
Give me a second. ASU baseball. They lost. Lost 3-4, bottom of the ninth, a heartbreaker, first L of the season. Just an absolute bummer in the bottom of the ninth. We had spent all day yesterday hyping this team up. Pretty sure the headline was ASU baseball on fire with no sign of slowing down.
Who wrote the headline?
I did. But I'm going to tell you why they lost. And I want everybody to know that this falls firmly on Erik Ruby's shoulders. Okay? So I'm going to peel back the curtain. Erik and I, we got to make these graphics, right? These win graphics. Currently, because there's not Big 12 logos, right, for separate reasons, or there's only Big 12 logos, I need Rubis to make this graphic, right, to go back into Photoshop and edit it so I can put it out there for all the ASU fans to love up on. Erik had to head home in the top of the 9th inning, where Arizona State led 3-2. So Erik, being the trooper that he is, said, you know what, I'm gonna throw out some options here. Let's hope that some of these work. So he throws out options. ASU wins 5-4, ASU wins 5-3, ASU wins 4-3, ASU wins 3-2. He sent those in at 5:18, top of the 9th inning. And wouldn't you know, right after Erik Ruby sends 4 win graphics, the Sun Devils blow their lead and they lose. So don't sit here and say I jinxed them.
I mean,
because you jinxed them in the top of the 9th inning.
You did say they were certified top 15 team in the country, and I said, let's pump the brakes.
I still think they're certified top 15 team in the country. They led that whole game.
It was a brutal loss. It was a brutal loss, but they'll bounce back.
Say it's your fault, man.
No. No, I won't. I'll say it's our fault.
But it's not our fault.
See, that's the thing. I'd be fine.
Okay, I'll meet you in the middle here. I'll meet you in the middle here. Relationships aren't 50-50, right? They're not 50-50.
Are you couples therapisting me right now?
All I'm saying is relationships aren't 50-50, right? You're married, you know that. So here we go. I'll take 15% of the blame. If you want to go ahead and as a part of our relationship, own up to the other, 85%.
I will say, okay, how about this? I will say that it's my fault after you say it's your fault, and we won't specify the percentages.
How about we ask Ayrton?
Don't put him into this.
I would. Ayrton's here. How about we will live and die with what Ayrton says is the percentage blame. Agreed?
Fine.
Okay. Ayrton?
I'm giving Ruby 70% of the blame. I'm giving Totri 20% of the blame. And I want to take 10% of the blame.
Oh, wow. What a
good guy.
Just because.
What a great producer Ayrton the Freckled Mamba is. Unbelievable work. Well, you heard it here first. It is all of our collective faults, but significantly more Erik Ruby's. Just again, want to throw that out there. That is going to do it for today's episode, though, of the PHNX Sun Devils Show. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Again, we appreciate everybody tuning in today, watching after the fact, and then listening on audio as well. Hit that like button and the subscribe button on your way out. Drop that 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. If you want to keep up with all things Arizona State, well, you can follow the show on social at PHNX_Sun Devils on X, on Instagram, and on TikTok. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow Ruby at Erik Ruby. That is Erik with a K. You can follow the Freckled Mamba at Freckled Mamba on social, and we will see you guys on Friday. In the meantime, go Devils. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.